All right, guys. So today we're going to take a little break from audio stuff to talk a little bit about what I use and the PC that I've specifically been using to edit videos. In fact, I'm using it to edit this video. And the thing that's very interesting about it is how small and how simple it is. Now, I am somebody that does have kind of an obsession with PCs, just different style of PCs, from desktops to laptops to handheld gaming PCs to tablets. But many PCs have been very interesting to me because, coming from how big computers used to be that you had to have to actually game and edit and do all of these different things that were a little more intensive, they've now, because of the, what the processors are capable of and the size of the different components, have now made it where these tiny little things, this PC right here is the same size as my desktop amp. And the PC that we're talking about today is the Ace Magic Matrix Mini M1. Very inexpensive for what you're getting, but this one specifically comes in at $439. And I'm going to just talk about this in a different way. So this isn't going to be like a lot of product shots because honestly, there's not a whole lot to look at here. You're basically seeing it. It's this little box, looks like an Apple TV. Again, about the size of my desktop amp that I use for headphones. So let's go ahead and start with, the processor that it's using. So it comes with an AMD Ryzen 7 7735HS. So this is a mobile processor. This one specifically uses 8 cores, 16 threads, and it can max boost up to 4.75 gigahertz. Basically, this thing is pretty fast on just the processor alone. But this one also has an AMD Radeon 680M graphics. This is integrated graphics, so it's not like this huge graphics card. Obviously, a huge graphics card's not going to fit inside of this thing. There are different configurations if you look at it on Amazon, which I will have this linked in the description. But mine specifically comes with 24 gigabytes of RAM, which is the max in this specific model. But it also came with a 512 gigabyte M.2 SSD, but it does go up to 4 terabytes. So you can max this thing out at 4 terabytes if you want to. There are 2 M.2 slots in here, but obviously this one's only using 1. It does come with Windows 11 Pro. It's Wi-Fi 6, does have Bluetooth 5.2. And the cool thing about this, and some people might not be as familiar with it, but when you get some inexpensive desktops, sometimes you have to have little dongles, little USB dongles to have Wi-Fi or to have Bluetooth, but all of this stuff is built into here. There is also a fan for cooling, and it has exhaust on 2 sides of here. So basically the heat is coming out of 2 sides of here. And I am going to say this, it was rare that the fan ever came on, and when it did, it's pretty quiet. And that is what I was looking for in general. So having the huge desktop is nice. And then having a laptop, which is an amazing laptop, it is also good in its own right, but the disadvantage there is the laptop, using it as a full-time desktop means it always has to be plugged in, which means that you're just kind of depleting the overall battery life of the laptop. It's just not going to last as long because you are using it on a daily basis as a desktop. So I wanted to get away from that, and I wanted to get away from the huge desktop because there's a lot of situations where I want to work on things on the go, or if I want to move my PC from one room to the other for whatever reason. It could just be that I want to work on something somewhere else, or if I want to use it as like a media device where like all my movies are on this thing. It's just very convenient having something this small to just move around. I do have a couple little nitpicking gripes with the thing, and it's just in general that's going to be the case with anything that I review. But let's go ahead and just talk about the ports, because that's kind of where my gripe is with this, because it does have a good amount of ports, but there's only one USB-C port, and sadly the USB-C port you cannot use for charging, so you have to use this proprietary cable that they've included to charge this. There are 6 USB-A ports. There's an HDMI port, and there's a display port. You technically could, plug this into 3 different 4K monitors using the USB-C, the HDMI, and the display port. So that's kind of convenient to be able to do that. And then as far as the internet connection, if you don't want to use the Wi-Fi 6, it does have an Ethernet port, which I'm always going to recommend using Ethernet. That way, if you're wired straight in, you are getting the strongest signal, the most solid connection. You don't have to worry about dropouts. If you're somebody that's gaming, that's obviously very important. So now let's talk about what I've been using it for and what it's really capable of. Can this thing be used for gaming? Yeah, it can. I am going to say if you're looking at gaming, you know, like the newest AAA titles and you want to use it at max settings, this is definitely not going to do that. So kind of keep your expectations in check. It is very good at playing, you know, some older games you can play on medium to high settings. I personally would not consider this a gaming PC, but it technically can be, depending on what it is you're playing. What I used this as was basically an editing powerhouse. So I do a lot of editing in Photoshop. I do a lot of editing in Premiere. Obviously, the video that you're watching right now, I'm editing in Premiere Pro. So I use like the whole Adobe suite. And this thing runs all of that with ease. So like in this video, we're editing 4K footage. There's multiple layers of 4K footage. There's transitions. Sometimes there's color correction on some of the things that I do. So it kind of just depends on the project. But no matter what I was doing, the Ace Magic M1 had no problem handling any of this. And the same thing with Photoshop. I do a lot of photography, but I do a lot of graphic design work for magazines, some different companies around here, and everything that I did, even if it was high-res files, tons of different layers, if I was drawing because I needed to like specifically get something just right, it handled it with ease. And the plus about this, not only just using it at my desktop, which I mainly do, I have a lot of portable monitors. This is basically where I can take this PC away from my desktop, plug it into a portable monitor, and basically kind of have like a laptop no matter where I'm at. And I like the convenience of this. I like the ease of this. And again, it's not having me rely on my laptop and also kind of killing the battery in the longevity of the laptop. So I've had no hiccups. I've had no hangups, delays. Everything has been a very smooth experience. Again, it just kind of baffles my mind at what this tiny PC is capable of. But guys, that wraps up my video on the Ace Magic Matrix Mini M1 PC. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.